Our job is to support emerging technology businesses to get access to federal contracting opportunities, navigate that bureaucracy, kind of explain how it all works, and then help identify opportunities for you, and then help you navigate the space to actually get that award. These awards given by the US government to kind of support some emerging tech, it's non-diluted capital. And they really want these companies to grow so they can feed into the overall defense industrial space.
Hi, my name is Rod Miller. Welcome to Opportunity Miami. We're glad to have you here. Today we're joined by Solomon Stavis. Welcome to Opportunity Miami.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with the problem you're solving. What makes securing grants such a challenge for small businesses, and how does Move America really do that?
Sure, so I'm working with, Move America is the parent company, you could say it that way, and I'm the director of the Rapid Innovation Accelerator program here in Miami. And our job is to support emerging technology businesses to get access to federal contracting opportunities. We do focus on emerging technology areas. So these are going to be AI, cybersecurity, advanced materials, so forth and so on. And we do also focus on dual use companies. So these are going to be companies that have both a private sector as well as a public sector application. So you could think of, AI and cybersecurity, as I mentioned, are obvious ones, but it can also be companies that develop a strap, right? Maybe it's an interesting strap that it's used to strap down vehicles and transport in the private sector. That same strap and latch can be used for help to support the warfighter. So we help all those types of companies get access to federal contracting opportunities. And our job really is to kind of, a few things, really also demystify the space is one of the big things. When people think of federal contracts, I don't blame them. I spent a lot of time in the government, but also the private sector. They just, eyes roll back, slow, it's going to take forever. They're going to assume you have to be a very large, well-established company to be able to navigate the bureaucracy. But in reality, a lot of the federal contracts can be quite simple, especially ones focused on small businesses, like the SBIRs, the Small Business Innovation Research Awards. These are particularly focused on small businesses to help develop a new and innovative idea. This is non-diluted capital that's not easy to come by if you're a small business to get that. Typically, you have to go to a VC, you give equity, but with these awards given by the US government to kind of support some emerging tech, it's non-diluted capital. So our job is to first navigate that bureaucracy, kind of explain how it all works, and then help identify opportunities for you, government contracting opportunities, and then help you navigate the space to actually get that award. We try to go a little bit further too. So our parent company, Move America, which is funded the same way we are through the Office of Small Business Programs at the DoD. They are made up of former federal employees, people that worked at the DoD, really understand how the grant process, government contracting, the bureaucracy works. So when a small business comes to us and says, hey, we heard about you, we're looking for, various government contracts. Another thing we can do is we can call our Move America partner to say, hey, can you help them review this particular award that they're drafting? You may understand some of the things that, you understand how they think on the other side. Right. Help us look through it, take a peek, and it really gives them a huge advantage.
Small businesses, there are a lot of small businesses out there. How important are these small businesses to the Department of Defense?
Very important, so important that they developed, as I mentioned, the SBIR, the Small Business Innovation Research Award. In 2024, it was almost $5 billion of awards, so a lot of money, particularly focused on small businesses to really start supporting the overall government ecosystem. They really want these companies to grow so they can feed into the overall defense industrial space. To come here, we don't charge any money. We're completely free to support as many businesses as we can to really start looking at this space, because there are a lot of small businesses, of course, in Miami, but a lot of them are not applying for federal contract opportunities. They're just not aware. A lot of them people are applying in New York, California, Texas, but not Florida. Even though there's Southcom here, there's CENTCOM here, Central Command here, there's a slew of amazing universities that have sitting on really cool tech at FIU, Miami-Dade College, but they're not applying for these particular opportunities. So, and of course, there's a lot of VC money here. So it's a huge growing space, but they're not taking advantage of it. So it's very important.
Could you talk about how you're partnering with Miami organizations in carrying out this work?
So one of our partners is Lab 22. They probably need no introduction. Lab 22, they're a powerhouse in Miami run by Safe and Karen. They do amazing work. So we're funded under Move America as a partnership with Lab 22, and Lab 22 is really our voice when it comes to Miami.
Are there any wins that you have that you can share at this point?
We've helped 17 small businesses issue their first SBIR, Small Business Innovation Research Award, as I mentioned, which is huge. These are not easy to necessarily draft, especially for small businesses. These are a lot of these businesses. Some of them are single, owned by individuals that have said, they want to give it a shot and are going to this space. And so I would say quite a few wins. I mean, we haven't had any of the awards come back yet, so we're waiting to hear back on quite a few, but we're expecting some wins pretty soon, actually. So fingers crossed.
Now, Miami was a community chosen, but this was a very competitive process.
Yeah.
What made Miami stand out?
As I mentioned, there's a lot of government assets here. The ones I mentioned earlier, Southcom, CENTCOM, is also SOCOM, South Florida Defense Alliance is here, Kennedy Center is here. There's just Space Force has a base here. So of course, that's a big reason too. And then all of the money flowing from VCs. I mean, after New York and California, Miami or Florida is the third largest inflow of VC capital. And if Florida was an economy, it would be the 16th largest economy in the world. It'd be in the top 20. So it's huge.
That's right.
It's a huge opportunity. So that's why they said, not New York, not California, but let's do it in Florida, especially in South Florida.
It's interesting. I mean, I think the rest of the world is discovering Florida, and I even think we ourselves are still kind of rediscovering ourselves over the last 5 to 7 years. Like, what do we want to be when we grow up? And I think that's a tremendous opportunity. Yeah. And I think defense has to be a big part of that story, both from a national security as well as where we're located geographically. Can you speak a little bit around, in a little bit more granularity around some of the technologies that are interesting, as well as some of the things that may not be traditionally what we thought of? You mentioned the straps and stuff. What are some of the types of businesses that are most apt to be competitive for this process?
A lot of AI, of course, it's booming. A lot of companies that approach us are working on AI solutions. It's really interesting. So that's the biggest. Mm-hmm. Low-cost drones. A lot of companies are starting to enter the space. It's big, as we see in the war in Ukraine and Russia. I mean, drones are a really important part of the overall warfighter's arsenal. Cybersecurity, especially with people are talking about quantum computing and how it's going to break a lot of the codes. That's something that people are thinking about. So those types of companies we're getting a lot, and these are really interesting potential government opportunities. These are really exciting. It's really exciting to see where some of it's going to go.
So one of the things that we know that a lot of small businesses have a lot of capacity in terms of energy, in terms of great ideas, but one of the challenges is just how do they scale up and getting support? You all have something called the Mentor Protege Program. Could you talk a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, it's a really important program. So the Mentor Protege Program is a U.S. government program supported by Move America and also us. What it really does, it tries to, how can you support businesses to grow? That's the main concept. So essentially, if there's a prime and a sub on a contract, the Mentorship Protege Program will incentivize the prime to support the subcontractor. So they can do that by giving them funds, which is the main way, and then helping giving them resources to kind of take on more subs. The overall goal is that prime contractors like Boeing's reach out to subcontractors to do some of the work, with eventually the subcontractor can become the prime.
One of the things that we find is that a lot of programs are only focused on businesses that are already well advanced and established. I understand you can work with businesses fairly early on, and that there's a gamut of resources even outside of your office that you all can help bring to bear. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. So we support businesses at very early stage. So there's a program called the STTR, the STTR. It's the Small Business Technology Transfer and Research award for the U.S. government. It's similar to the SBIR, and it focuses a lot on taking technology that is at universities or government labs and then moving it to the private sector. And these are focused on really early initial ideas. So how SBIRs and STTRs are typically structured is in 3 phases. So the phase 1 is really to kind of develop the MVP, the prototype. Usually it lasts about a year, and it's from $50,000 to $250,000. And the government will give you this money for 1 year, similar like a VC. They want to see how you're going to spend that money, and they want to see you spend in a year to develop a really early initial concept. Then after that, you can apply for a phase 2. And a phase 2 goes up to $1.5 million, and it's to test the idea. And again, for small businesses or people that are looking to kind of
Vital.
It's vital. That type of capital, especially in that time frame, in a really short time frame, means they're really pushing you to really get it out there. And then the third phase is to commercialize it, and they'll help you kind of commercialize that technology. So these are particular awards structured for the U.S. government, focused specifically on really early initial ideas to support small businesses or university professors or those working on interesting and cool tech to really move it into the private sector or the government.
We were speaking earlier off camera about neither one of us being from Miami originally, but how we're finding this market such a dynamic and great place. Could you talk a little bit more about yourself, where you're coming from, in terms of your experience, and why you find Miami to be a particularly interesting market at this time?
Absolutely. So I grew up in California in the Bay Area, so in the world of startups, and then I moved to DC in the world of government. And I'll tell you why this makes sense and why this connects to what I'm currently doing. In DC, I worked at the World Bank, International Monetary Fund, the Development Finance Corporation, big government programs. But at the same time, I started my own startups because I fell in love with those concepts when I was in California and San Francisco. And I think what makes me very unique for this particular position is be able to kind of interpret both sides, right? So I can understand the incentives on the private sector side that are quite different from the government side. And I understand the language on the government side, and I understand the bureaucracy of the government side, because I kind of speak these two languages. So with this particular position in Miami, where there's a lot of emerging technology businesses, which I love, but also a lot of need by government to kind of tap into those, for me, it's like a really exciting space to be.
So it's interesting. So for small business owners listening who may feel overwhelmed, what's one piece of advice you give them about how they can unlock unlock funding opportunities, and leverage the Rapid Innovation Accelerator?
Well, they should go to our website, gogovnow.com, and reach out to us. It's a very small form. We try not to make it complicated. It's very simple, just a few minutes. And from there, we'll schedule a call, we'll do an introduction, better understand what they're working on, and then share some opportunities with them. I would suggest doing that, but also take a deep breath. It's not as overwhelming as you think, and then reach out to us.
Solomon, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.